Hello everyone. Today we are going to make a Zuppa Toscana copycat Olive Garden soup. It will be made for 2 adults, quick, easy, and less than $20. So let's get started. First, we're going to saute a tablespoon of garlic as well as half of a red onion chopped up with a couple tablespoons of canola oil. So this is what it will look like when you first put it in the pan. Let me get a spoon. So I did 2 capfuls of the canola oil, a tablespoon of garlic, and then I just put in that half a red chopped onion. You want to turn it on relatively high to get it going, and then I like to cover that with a top. So when we come back, the onions will be soft, and then we can add our Italian sausage meat. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. Whew, steamy. Put my top down. It's been about 5 minutes, so this is what I mean when I refer to the onions as being soft. They just get like a nice brown color on it. The garlic's nice and brown. So that took about 5 minutes. So now I'm gonna add the Italian sausage meat. Now for the Olive Garden, they do use a spicy Italian ground sausage. I like how the sweet Italian tastes. If you like the spiciness, definitely get the hot one. I'm going to use the sweet one and then add chili pepper flakes to get that kick. So I'm going to add this to the pot. Alright, so when you throw your meat in, you just kind of want to break it up. It's going to cook relatively fast. We are going to simmer this soup once all the ingredients are in, so you won't have to worry about eating undercooked pork, because this meat's going to be in here definitely long enough for it to cook all the way through. So I'm just trying to cook it down to where it's brown all over, and it's easier to break up. I still have it on that high heat. Okay, so let your meat brown for about 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes, and as you can see, let me turn that down a little bit, turn it to about halfway. As you can see, the meat has browned nicely, and it's easier to break up into smaller pieces, which is going to be the ultimate goal. And there's some more juice on the bottom of it. That's just coming off of the ground pork. I'm not going to drain it because it gives it a nice little extra flavor to this soup. Alright, so once this is all brown, I'm going to add, for right now, just a carton of chicken broth. Now I'm using the specific brand because this is a gluten-free soup, and this is a gluten-free and organic chicken broth. If you don't have a celiac disease, you can use any chicken stock or chicken broth that you want. Sometimes I If I make roasted chicken, I will use the drippings from that. So you can get very creative about what kind of chicken broth you use. So I'm going to add this whole cart to the pots, and then I'm going to dump in the potatoes. I do have 2 cartons here. I'm going to see how much I can get off of this one, if it's going to be enough, because I want this soup to last for at least 2 days. So I'll see how that goes. So this is what my pot looks like now. I've added 1 carton of the chicken broth, as well as that bowl of cut up potatoes. Now for the potatoes, I just used 2 large rustic bacon potatoes from Kroger that I just cut up and diced into cubes. As you can see, the potatoes are not submerged. You want your your potatoes are not submerged. You want the potatoes to be completely covered. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of the second cart. If you don't have 2 cartons of chicken broth and you're in this situation, you can definitely just add water to it. Just add enough water to cover up the potatoes. Okay, so I added almost the whole second carton of chicken broth to completely cover the potatoes. So now I'm just going to give it a good stir to get everything mixed well. Get those sauteed onions moved around, the garlic, and the meat and potatoes. So now I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Yeah, right below the 8. I want to get this simmering. Put the top back on. Once it begins to simmer, you want to cook it until the potatoes are soft. This may take up to about 15-20 minutes. So we'll be back once the potatoes are soft. Okay, so once it starts to boil pretty rapidly like this, you want to put the top back on and then turn your heat down to about a 4 or a little bit before the halfway, because you don't want to burn off all of the liquid. I might actually bring that down a little bit more. So now, we're just going to let this simmer until the potatoes are soft, and you'll know they're soft when you stick a fork in it and the fork can easily go into the potatoes. Once again, this should take about 15 to 20 minutes. It's been about 10 minutes. I taste tested one of the potatoes and it was nice and soft. There we go. Put that down over there. So, once the potatoes are soft, give it another swirl. At this point, you do want to taste test the broth, especially if you had to add water to completely submerge the potatoes. That's really good. So, if you had to use water to submerge your potatoes, it will dilute your broth a little bit. I suggest adding to taste some Italian seasoning of some kind. This one is pretty cheap. It's from Kroger. I believe I got this for like $1. This one's a little bit fancier from Aldi's. I think I spent maybe $5. So definitely add a tablespoon at a time. Stir, give it a taste, and see what else you need. So now, I like the taste of the broth. I might actually add a tablespoon of the Italian seasoning. Okay, I'll just give that a little stir. So far it's only been about an hour, so we're making pretty good time. I'm gonna give it another taste. Yeah, that was good. So now I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. I'm gonna give that a stir. If you like a really creamy soup, definitely add another cup. I'm just gonna pour a little bit more in. I'm gonna free ball it. Give it a nice stir. Then I'm going to add a tablespoon of cornstarch. This is just to thicken up the broth. Once again, this is a gluten-free soup, so I'm using cornstarch. If you don't have celiac, you can definitely use flour. Stuck to the spoon a little bit. Give that a nice stir. Make sure you get that all dissolved in there. Next, we are going to add the kale. And that's going to be the last step. Now for the kale, definitely make sure you wash and dry it. Then I just rip it up into smaller little pieces with my hands. So I'm going to add this to the pot. So once you add the kale to your pot, just give it a nice stir. Try not to overflow it because this pot's not quite big enough as I was anticipating. I still got some relatively large pieces of meat, so I'm going to try to gently break that down a little bit more. All right. So that was the last step, was adding the kale. To garnish, I'm going to use some of that red crushed pepper to give it that little extra kick, as well as some Parmesan cheese. So you can let this simmer for about another 10 minutes just to cook down the kale. And after that, get a bowl and you are done. So this was the Zuppa Toscana gluten-free Olive Garden copycat recipe. This only cost me about $17, $18 to make. Details on ingredients, written instructions, as well as prices will be in the description box. This is my first time making a YouTube video, so definitely leave some comments. Did you like it? great. What did you like about it? If not, tell me how I can improve. Have a good evening.